Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the July 8th meeting of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. I'm Doug Salzgaver, your president, for about another 45 minutes. Yeah. I'm surprised there wasn't more clapping about that. So Randy Worth will now give us a very brief moment of inspiration, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the four-way test.
Thank you, soon to be past President Doug. We have probably all have somebody in our life that when we're together with them, they tell a story or two, and they're liable to be a story that you've heard 100 times before, maybe more, but we hear it, right? And so I'm going to relay a story from my dad. So my dad graduated high school in 1946. He entered Iowa State. He was a smart guy. That fall in electrical engineering. He lived in Frisbee House on the 3rd floor, and his roommate was Harold Bolton. And Harold never complained about living on the 3rd floor. Well, fine and dandy. But when I listened to the story, instead of just hearing it, here's what I come up with. Still graduated in 1946, but he was the salutatorian of his class. He entered Iowa State that fall in electrical engineering, did live in Frisbee House, which was not a house in the dormitory system at Iowa State, but a freestanding house off campus. The only phone and restroom was on the 1st floor, and he and Harold's floor was on the 3rd floor. And roommate Harold was also an electrical engineer, and a few years older than Dad. He was a returning veteran from World War II, and he returned from World War II missing a leg. Never once complained about living on the 3rd floor, just found out a way how to cope with it. Never complained about the restroom on the 1st floor. Harold and Dad remained really good friends all through their lives, and I will say that Harold influenced my dad and his attitude towards when things don't quite go your way. So the next time you hear a story from somebody, kind of listen and see if you can pick up other stuff. But now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Meet and greet.
Use your table there, Kitty.
On my equipment.
All right, we've got a lot to go over today. First of all, I'd like to recognize more of our members who have made our 2020-2021 Rotary Year a success. I'd like to thank our outgoing board members. If you're here, if you'd please stand. Katie County, Harvey Freeze, and past President Don Flannery. Let's give them a round of applause, please. And also a big thank you to our committee chairs for the outstanding commitment to for the detailed work that our club needs. Please stand as your name is called, and everyone please hold your thunderous applause until the very end. The Audit Committee, Adam Voits. Awards, Art Whitmack. Communications, Graham Gillette. Community Service, Kathy Cody. International Service, Carter Smith. Local Scholarships, Sherry Gupta. Membership Development, Claudia Schabel. New Member Orientation, Chris Anderson. Program Committee, Kyle McCormick. And the Rotary Youth Exchange, Josh Braby. Let's give them a round of applause for all the work they put in this year. And as a reminder, when it's time for questions for our speaker, to please come up to the front of the room, where Kitty will hand you a very cleanly sanitized microphone for you to hold. We will have Laura, our speaker, repeat the question so those watching our video later will know the question that you asked. Something new for us today. We will sanitize the microphone between questions. So with that, I will invite someone who apparently knows Laura very well, Corey Kelly, to introduce today's keynote speaker.
Thank you, President Doug. And thank you all for coming today. I'm really excited about the opportunity to provide this introduction. I don't know if anybody's paying attention, probably not, but this is only the second time I've gotten a chance to do an introduction on this stage. First one was like 4 years ago when I introduced myself. We don't do that anymore. And so it is on this occasion whereby we get to close off one Rotary year and start a new Rotary year in sharing something that's happening here that's quite personally exciting to me. I feel like I should be giving a donation to the foundation for having the opportunity to provide this introduction, so I'll do that. I'll make that commitment. But one of the things that was shared with me when I first joined this Rotary Club was just how tremendously unique it is among Rotaries, and tremendously unique it is in Iowa, being the oldest service organization and one that has had a tremendous history in revealing the bests and the firsts and diving into the interesting things. And it is with that foundation that I'm not going to get into really any of the details of my wife's story and the 515 Farms organization she's going to introduce you to. I'm just going to say that I'm so excited to be a part of the start of your year, President Catherine, and the end of your year, President Doug, and continuing the tradition of this club of exploring really exciting, unique things that are happening right here in Central Iowa. And with that, I'd like to introduce Laura Kelly, the founder and owner of 515 Farms.
Does that work there? Does that work? All right, thank you, Corey. Thank you, Kitty, and everyone for having me here today. I'm thrilled to introduce you to 515 Farms and tell you a little bit about what it is that we're doing. I'm also really excited to be here at Wakanda. I'm a third-generation Des Moinesian. I grew up swimming in that pool. I grew up right down Park Avenue on Southwest 37th Street. Both sets of my grandparents were right around the corner as well, one in Southern Hills, one right there at Park Fleur, so I feel very much at home. As nervous as I am, I feel very much at home here. I was extraordinarily close to all my grandparents. My grandpa Stanley Crum was with Yonkers for his career. My grandpa Harry Galinsky spent his career having lots of small businesses in the area, specifically one important one was a grocery store during the Great Depression. So that sort of leads into farming a little bit. I definitely wouldn't be standing here without either of their influences in both business and in life. Like many Iowa natives do, I moved away for a bit. I attended law school at the University of Minnesota and then practiced law in DC for about a decade until the birth of my daughter 11 years ago. It was at that point that I decided to come home, in great part to raise her in the community in which I was brought up and loved so very much. Upon coming home though, I decided to live west. As my Des Moines friends say, way out west. Might as well be in Nebraska west. They love to harass me about it. It's really just Clive, but they still like to make fun of me. So before coming here, making the drive from way out west, we picked up these leafy green friends here. Together, these greens and I found out that it's about 15 miles and takes approximately 25 minutes. Truth is, it's not really all that far. It's especially not far at all for these plants. This is a tower taken from our farm that's located at Des Moines Golf out in West Des Moines. Sorry, Wakanda. I brought the plants in the towers so that you could see how exactly they grow in the farm, since unfortunately we can't all be at the farms today. Greens like these are also in your salads today. Also, there were some microgreens and sorrel and other awesome things that were grown in the farm. They were harvested just hours ago by my farm manager, Taryn, who you will meet shortly. Now, I said that for these plants, the farm really wasn't so bad. Let me explain why. Their counterparts, traditionally grown heads of lettuce, travel 6+ days and nearly 1,900 miles to get to the shelf in the grocery store. I'm talking about heads of lettuce similar to the ones that we all buy day in and day out. As for me, back in the day, when I picked up a head of lettuce, all I thought was, good job, Laura, like you're buying something healthy, nice choice. Not once did I ever think about from where that lettuce came. But I'll tell you, I think about it now. Unlike the greens in these towers and in your salads, a traditionally grown head of lettuce most likely began life in Southern California. There it was picked from a field, put into cold storage. Then it was transported, washed, dried, put back into cold storage. From there it was shipped to a packer, where it was packaged, taken out again, put back into cold storage. Then it was shipped from California here to Iowa on either a truck or a train. It went to a distribution center where it was put back into storage, taken out one final time, put on another truck until it went to the grocery store, just waiting for me to purchase it and bring it here. Sounds exhausting, doesn't it? Well, it's not just exhausting for these plants, but it's very detrimental. Once lettuce is cut, it starts going in and out of cold storage. It's greatly impacted. As soon as something's picked, it starts deteriorating. It's losing basically everything we bought it for, the nutrients and the taste. Is it bad for you? No, of course not. But are there ways of making the product and the process better? Absolutely. So I mentioned my daughter earlier. It was after she was born that I really started paying more attention to food, specifically the food that I was putting into her little body. I got the fancy Williams-Sonoma steamer and was making everything she ate. She didn't eat any meat, she didn't eat anything processed. I'd like to say that's still the case, but I should probably buy stock in McDonald's, but we're working on it. She also said that if I went into this business and embarked upon this endeavor, it would be salad all the time. So she's yet to hold up her end of the bargain, but we're working on it. Anyway, shopping for fresh food when I came back to Iowa to make for her, I realized that although I'd moved back to a state that's nearly 90% farmland, the majority of what I had the option to purchase was grown thousands of miles away and picked weeks prior. So at that point, I started learning more about food and from where it comes. I discovered the life cycle of produce, the one I just shared with you, and thought there has to be a better way. And there is a better way, a sustainable way that can provide hyper-local, clean, fresh, nutritious food to local communities and food deserts. And that's what 515 Farms is striving to do. Once I found out about the journey of the traditionally grown lettuce, I wanted to be part of the change. That's why I started 515 Farms. We're focused on sustainable hydroponic farming practices. We use no pesticides, minimal water, and with a fraction of the carbon footprint of a traditional farm. We harvest most of our greens live, which means they come with the root intact, allowing for the freshest food to be on your tables within hours of harvest, just like today. We like to call it seed to table. Growing the way we do, we're able to provide our community with fresh, hyper-local greens that people can feel very, very good about. Now, I've mentioned sustainability a number of times. I'd like to talk about that a little bit more. We already discussed how a traditional head of lettuce makes its way from the field in California to the banquet room at Wakanda, but there's a lot we didn't talk about. Let's start with water. Can you guess how much precious California water goes into one head of traditionally grown lettuce? 7 gallons. Sounds crazy, but it's 7 gallons of water for one head of lettuce. In comparison, a head of lettuce grown in our farms uses less than a gallon. And in the summer, like now, when our farms are reclaiming water through that humid Iowa air, we're actually water positive, meaning we don't have to use any outside source for our water. We're actually bringing water in. I imagine most of you have seen lately on the news that California is bracing for yet another heat wave in all the areas where lettuce is grown. They're talking about temperatures reaching close to 120 degrees. Can you imagine being a head of lettuce in a field and trying to survive in 120 degree heat? I don't want to try to do it. Land is losing its nutrients, crops are becoming unpredictable, and farmers are being financially impacted. A farmer on national TV recently said that he's losing 25% of the water that he has allocated. Can you imagine losing a quarter of something that your business needs to produce what you produce? I talked earlier too about the large number of trucks used to transport a traditionally grown head of lettuce. Emissions from diesel engines are contributing to damaging crops and vegetation daily. This method of growing also results in a huge amount of waste. Think about the heads of lettuce that didn't survive the 1,900-mile trip, whether because of the heat in the field, or it got tossed at the grocery store when the produce manager decided that, well, it looked like it'd been traveling for 1,900 miles, or just how much lettuce we throw away, because by the time we get it, the shelf life has unfortunately been shortened because of all of that travel time. So it's time we start realizing that between labor, transportation costs, carbon emissions, water, all used in traditional farming, it's just not very sustainable anymore. So the 515 Farm Solution, our mission is to grow food where we live, grow the food close to the people. With new technology, we're able to do this. We can now grow in a different way. Large-scale amounts of produce can be grown locally and sustainably, 12 months a year, anywhere. 515 Farms is growing in that way. We currently grow in refurbished shipping containers, same containers that cross the seas. Our containers have been repurposed into state-of-the-art high-tech farms. You'll see that shortly. Allowing us to use what's called CEA, Controlled Environment Agriculture. We control every aspect of our farms: temperature, humidity, nutrient levels, light, CO2, giving the plants exactly and only what they need. Thus, we create optimal conditions, resulting in optimal growth, nutrition, size, and color. It's like a plant paradise. And we can grow 365 days a year, even in the dead of the Iowa winter. On our Facebook page, we've got a picture of a farm manager, Taryn, holding a tower like that in 6 inches of snow. Beautiful, bright green, fresh, nutritious lettuce that was grown in January with snow on the ground. So in our farms, we don't have to wait for the outside conditions to be right, because they're always right in the farm. Also, because it's a clean, controlled environment, there are no pests, so there are absolutely no pesticides used in the farm ever. We talked about the waste involved in soil farms a little bit. Because our lettuce is harvested with the live root on, as I mentioned, you simply cut the root off and you have the entire head of lettuce to grow. Also, it can live in the fridge for up to 3 weeks. Not even kidding, we're amazed by it all of the time. Again, it didn't travel for 1,900 miles, for all of those days, so it is extraordinarily fresh and truly unbelievable. It also hasn't been affected by the outside and unpredictable climate conditions, so it's in great shape. In terms of land use, with our farms, we're able to grow as much in 320 square feet as a traditional farm does in 2 acres. For reference, 2 acres is approximately 86,000 square feet. Remember, we're growing the same amount in just 320. We can grow 1,000 heads of lettuce a week, so that's 52,000 heads a year, easy math. In comparison, the traditional 1 acre farm does 26,000 heads a year, half of what we do, all while using 95% more water. So as you can hopefully see, sustainability is really the name of our game. So, speaking of growing lettuce, at this point, I will introduce Taryn. He's our farm manager. While we would love to have you all in the farms, well, first of all, it's only 320 square feet, so it's very crowded. So what we did, and we had hoped to live stream Taryn from the farms, but we understand that the internet capabilities here can be a little bit dicey. So instead we have a video of inside the farms, and here together, he and I will sort of walk you through what it is that you will see and what the inside of our farms look like.
Hello, my name is Taryn. I'm actually a Des Moines native too, so
I meant to say.
you meant to say that. So I know this area very well. I moved away and I came back after college. I am the farm manager at 505 Farms. It's kind of hard to be a big manager when there's only 2 of us. So I pretty much do everything. So I'm also the laborer. I'm also the horticulturist. I'm the water specialist. What else?
I missed this whole part.
I'm also the electrician.
You're in charge of seeding, transplanting, nutrient monitoring, pH levels, harvesting, farm maintenance, basically everything.
There's all my jobs.
Everything that happens in the day at the farm, he's in charge of. I missed that part of the introduction. And I also say, as much as he doesn't agree, he's really the brains behind the operation. Sorry, that was your job.
Yeah, so that's all my jobs. I don't really have much else to do in my day. Anyways, today's our big day. Thursdays are always our big day. That's when we harvest, that's when we transplant, that's when we seed. It can take up to 2 days, but we like to have everything done in a day. So since today's Thursday, I was up early, I've harvested, I brought the harvest to you. I'm here now, and then I gotta get back to work. So there's a lot to be done today. So with that, I know time is running short, why don't we go ahead and start this. Right here is at the inside of the farm. This is the front section of the farm, the first 12 by 8 feet squared area. You're looking at a stainless steel table. Above it, these white panels, that's our dosing panels. That's where the water is dosed with the nutrients that it needs, the plants need. So the color bottles on the left, those are the nutrients there themselves, 2 parts, and there's also a pH. That white strip there, that's an interesting part of the table. We put that there ourselves because when we put these panels on the table, we need to know exactly where to put the plants. So we've marked certain sections for the certain plants. So lettuce, we try to get 12 heads of lettuce into a panel. Some of them are 18 per panel. As you can see here, you can see that they're evenly spaced. And that was by design because they need room to grow. They need light. They also need CO2, and they need airflow so that we don't have any problems with the plants. So go ahead. That's underneath the seedling table. As you can see, those plants are growing within certain plugs. That's Swiss chard. You can see that it was in bay 1. There's 200 of them, and there's a date on there. The seedlings are now being watered, and there's your dosing panels dosing that water to make sure we get it. That's our seedling tank. We have 2 tanks in our farms. This tank specifically feeds all the seedlings that you were just looking at. So it has its own requirements for the seedlings. There's another tank in the back that feeds our main growing area. That's the 4,000 heads of lettuce that are growing in the back. So we will alternate when we harvest so that we're never empty. So we'll harvest 1 week, we'll harvest 1,000 heads, and the next week, and the next week, and the next week, and then we replant as we are doing that. So it's always full. It's just in what stage are they at that point. We try to grow a head of lettuce between 6 to 7 weeks. So they will stay in the seedling tank for 2 weeks, and then we'll put them into the towers for up to 4 weeks. So.
And in the farms, there are 4 rows of these panels. So that's where he's getting the 1,000. So each row holds 1,000 plants, and it's just a continual cycle of the plant growth. And speaking of the water, that's perfect.
Yeah.
You heard us talk about how little water we use, and perhaps you're wondering why. Well, the water in our farms is recycled in both places. Taryn just talked about the seedling tank as well as the main tank in the back of the farm. All of that water comes through the system, comes up through tubing, and then across the farm into this tubing, and those are what are called drip emitters that come down into each of these. Speaking of this, they come down into, so what you see there, the white is this panel just like that there. So the water comes down And within that foam, there's a strip, it's called a wicking strip. So it collects the water, it goes down, the plants take exactly what they need, and then there's a gutter at the bottom of the system under that, and the water gets recycled back into the tank, and then it all starts over again. It's on a specific watering cycle, so it doesn't go all of the time, but that's where we come up with this extraordinarily small amount of water that's used. And the same, it works a little bit differently, but in the seedling tank as well, the water is constantly being recycled.
So what you're looking at right there was some really healthy roots. That's the plug. So we'll take one plug and put one seed in there, and it'll grow for 2 weeks. So what you're looking at was something that was just about to be transplanted. You could see that that tower was, maybe you didn't notice, but it was laying on the ground, or I mean on the table. So we were putting it in there, just like as you see this way. So that's how we get the plugs into the tower. Right there, go ahead and Corey, stop that for a second. That's, as you see, it kind of looks like it's going up. And when you see that, you know that you planted it right. But what you're actually seeing is, I'm planting one lettuce here, here, and here. And I do that all the way down, so I'm giving it the correct distance between each plant. I'm giving it everything that it needs. And then when you do that, the next panel, I'll start down, go up, and then down in the next panel. So I'm always making sure that I'm keeping distance between all my plants. And so that's why it looks like it's going at an angle. When you're looking at it, it's just kind of going like that. So that shows that it's being planted in a very correct way. We also do some cut and come again crops. So we'll cut them a number of times and we'll just continue to let them grow back. Some of the stuff that you had today was cut and come again, Mizuna, which is a Japanese mustard. And sorrel, as you can see, it's being boxed up right now. They're 8-ounce bags, 12-ounce bags. So that's a different way of, instead of always harvesting the head, sometimes we do different crops so that we can reutilize that plug. If you want to talk about this.
Oh, sure. This is our farmhand system. So there's besides Taryn, there's a brain behind the farm that monitors everything that's going on constantly. The nutrients, the pH levels, all of those things. So when we're not at the farms, we're able to check in on both our computer or on our phones. So we can look and say, oh wow, the humidity's gone crazy, or the lights aren't on, or the water isn't running, the pH has gone wacky for some reason. So we can control all of those things through this system, which is great. So he's run over many, many times when we've seen something go awry. So that's a really great aspect of the farm too, just at our fingertips at all times, so we don't have to be there, because of course things can go wrong. It'll send an alarm if it sees something, but that's what that is. It's just, oh, and there too you can see the little gray down there. That's a picture of the farm. There's a camera in there, so we can always take a quick little look at what's going on inside as well.
So that's what it looks like when the lights are on and nobody's in there. It's really hard to be in there when there's lights. It's blinding. You have to turn them off. So they're a red and blue ratio. The lights go on for 18 hours a day, then they go off and it's just pitch black in there. So we try to mimic nature as much as we can. You see the light panels, that's the blue lights. We can change the lighting a little bit. We can manipulate a few things. It's the same for the seedling tank too.
Why aren't they red and blue?
We choose red and blue because that is the optimal wavelengths for plant growth. They both use it for growth, but adding in the blue helps to pull out color. If we didn't have blue, even a red lettuce will stay green. So we have to have that blue in there to turn that lettuce green. So that's the inside of our farm. Sorry it's so short, and I wish we could have done a live feed of it, but at least you get to see the inner workings of a very high-tech new way of growing, and that's hydroponic farming.
So that's what the inside of the farm looks like. Yes, again, unfortunately you can't be in there. It's pretty cool. If anyone ever wants to come take a visit, we're happy to accommodate that. We'd love to have anyone come out and take a look. So in terms of what we're doing with the farms and everything that we're growing in them, Our original go-to-market strategy was to sell to restaurants and grocery stores throughout the Des Moines area with a commitment to give a percentage of every harvest to nonprofits. That said, we really got up and running right before COVID hit, so clearly we had to change our plan a little bit. Not necessarily for the worse though. We started selling to individuals with a program that we call Friends of the Farm. It's similar to a CSA. So we deliver to families across the local Des Moines area. Kids love it, adults love it. They call it Laura's lettuce. They get so excited when we're bringing lettuce, so that's worked out really well. A lot of that's just happened by word of mouth. In fact, in the beginning, we would, give a friend a bag to give to a friend. So that worked out extraordinarily well, and it's very satisfying, of course, to see and see the excitement when we get there. As I also mentioned, we are located at Des Moines Golf. It's just how it happened with zoning. They were zoned properly, and we're really excited to have us. So that's where we are. So of course, we service all of their restaurants. They just brought in a new chef who's very excited about what we're doing and very into things being locally grown. We also do their weddings and special events, wine dinners and whatnot out there. Now the businesses are reopening though, of course we'll be back to trying to sell within the restaurants. And we are also very close to having our produce on the shelves of a very large local grocery store. So stay tuned for that. What else? Selling, however, is not really our main goal. Of course, it is a big goal. Depends on who you ask in the business. My background was in public interest law, though, so I like to save the world. Anyway, but right here, even in Des Moines, there are people who need food, people who don't have access to safe, nutritious food. And a large part of why we do what we do is to make sure that those individuals have access to safe produce. So we're very committed to doing that. Despite COVID, even though we weren't selling a ton, we kept our commitment to giving back to the community. The community that he's been part of, that I've got 3 generations of. So we donated to Urban Dreams, Food Bank of Iowa, other organizations. And as we continue to grow, we of course continue to grow that giving back component as well. So that's 515 Farms in a nutshell. We're excited for what the future holds. We're proud to be doing what we're doing, and thanks for being interested enough to be here today. Corey's our marketing person, so he may help with this as well, depending on the question. I got a good team here.
Hello. Hi. Thank you. This was great, and thanks for reminding us to pay attention when we're eating, because the salad was great. It was wonderful. Scaling. I'm sure a lot of people have asked you, as you think about what's next, is this scalable? So if you talk a little bit about maybe it's the front-end investment, how you're thinking about the future, is scalability possible, and maybe just address that a little bit. Yeah. Or Corey will.
All of us could address it.
I think you should take.
Yes, scalability is absolutely possible, and that is most definitely where we are heading. There is no question about that. We are looking at different options as to how we're going to go about doing that. It will all still be very local, and right here in Des Moines, as you heard, it takes a very small amount of space to grow a whole lot of lettuce. So while the facility would of course be much larger, it would still take up a very, very small footprint. So yes, our plan is to absolutely be able to provide on a big scale the people of Central Iowa. Yes, Corey, Taryn, anyone else?
Is it expensive? I mean, it's high-tech costs.
Yes, it's a lot more expensive than doing land, but the footprint and everything is a lot less, so we can do it a lot closer to the cities. Our scaling projection is to not just grow 1,000 heads of lettuce, but maybe 12,000 heads to start at each week, and then we plan to grow from there. So doing it on a small operation isn't really where we want to be. We can't really do enough, so the only option is to scale, and we are heading towards that direction.
What part of the farm do you grow your marijuana in?
That's always a question, for sure. There are other farmers doing it in these types of containers, and they are doing marijuana. So, if it was legal, we would definitely be part of it. I mean, the medicinal properties and stuff we believe in, and we would like to be part of that when it does become available, hopefully at some point in the future.
And we joke, but truly, old, young, everybody who hears about the farms comes into the farms. It's one of the very first questions they have, so legalize it, we'll grab it. No?
Fascinating stuff. Vertical farming has caught the attention of Wall Street. I know in San Francisco there are vertical farms that do different kinds of vegetables. Are you thinking about expanding beyond lettuce in a new facility?
Yes, lettuce is something we prefer not to do because it's readily available. We want to do something different. That's why we've got this tatsoi, we have the mizuno, we have pak choi, we're doing kales, we're doing sorrels, we're doing a lot of different things. In the future, when we scale, we will definitely be looking into like strawberries. I know a lot of the industry and people that we are working with and have been talking to are talking about doing other things in these farms because doing a lot of berries outside, especially in California and the Southwest, it's becoming harder and harder for them. And so it's a big move by even the big industry players that are actually growing right now, their own, to now start working with the hydroponic farms to start growing strawberries inside because the seasons are so limited and there's so many issues with bugs and using pesticides and herbicides that it's time for them to start going indoor and having a more substantial crop that can be produced at a faster rate.
Also though, speaking of limitations, there are limitations to what we can grow vertically.
Yes.
We can't grow potatoes, we can't grow some things that just have to be grown in the soil. So there are some limitations like that, but we do herbs, leafy greens, edible flowers, we did some turnips and radishes and things like that, but there are some limitations to what can be grown vertically.
I promise I didn't pay you to wear this shirt. I actually bribed them for this shirt. I'm a big fan. So I know that, we're talking about the growth of it, but I think a big component of it is how big your heart is and how much you've actually given back to the community. And even through all of COVID, she was donating constantly to all of the food banks and just everybody so that we could still eat healthy and not all of us gained the 20 pounds during COVID that we did because we were eating cookies and brownies. So maybe if you can talk about a little bit more about how you plan to grow that and donate more to and continue donations to all of the needy and to make sure that we are all eating healthy and eating locally grown substances would be great.
Sure, well, I mentioned a couple of the organizations to which we have donated. The original plan was to just continue to pick a new organization really during every harvest, and so we plan to do that. One thing we really noticed too, I talked about food deserts. When we went and delivered to Urban Dreams, and again, both of us being from here, we made the delivery and started driving back, and we're thinking, where is the closest grocery store? There are little corner stores sort of all along the way, but it was miles until we found a Hy-Vee. Again, bringing it into those communities and even donating to some of those smaller stores and whatnot is something we want to do. We've also tossed around the idea of having just a complete nonprofit component of 515 Farms. So that's something, again, that now that we're sort of coming back from COVID and all of that, that we definitely plan to pursue further. Yeah. You have something to say?
Thank you, Laura, for spending time with our club and sharing an extremely interesting and informative presentation today. We're donating the book, Mythology, Oh My, Gods and Goddesses, to the Downtown School Library in your honor. I know you've scribbled some words of encouragement there to our young readers, appreciate that. My apologies, we missed a very valuable committee chair earlier. Ganesh Genpat, Chair of the Grants Committee. Yay! Woo, woo. We did that on purpose so you could get your own ovation. I missed it. What are you gonna do, fire me? Well, when I took over a year ago as your president, unemployment was 16%, restaurants were closed, and you couldn't get a haircut. But thanks to the tireless work of my administration, unemployment in Iowa is now at 4%. You can enjoy dining out as you sport your new hairdo.
Thank you.
But seriously, Kitty and your Rotary Board have done an outstanding job dealing with the twists and turns that have been thrown at us during the past 15 months. And I'm so proud to have served with each and every one of you. As I look at the names of over 100 past presidents of this club, I'm honored, humbled, and actually shocked that my name will soon be added to this prestigious list. Sometimes it's said you have to do good, you must first do wrong. Well, I've done that recently as I have violated the first sentence of our four-way test. Is it the truth? Also, every member of the Rotary Board has violated that as well. At a recent board meeting, it was determined that due to the pandemic, no one had stepped up this year to earn the Rotarian of the Year award. That's not truthful. Through all of the pandemic, there has been one member that has repeatedly gone above and beyond what any member should be required to do. As one of my last duties as president, I'm extremely excited that I'm able to honor this year's Rotarian of the Award winner to member Kitty Morehouse. We got you. The plaque reads, the Roger T. Stetson Rotarian of the Year, 2020 to 2021, presented to Kitty Morehouse for upholding and furthering the ideals of Rotary and in appreciation for exceptional contributions to maintaining the Rotary Club of Des Moines engagement and services throughout the pandemic. This year couldn't have been done without you. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, I need reimbursed for that plaque. I couldn't charge it to Rotary, otherwise you'd have known. And in keeping with my theme of the year, to leave something behind, I've named the Rotary Club of Des Moines in my will. And I will now pledge an immediate $1,000 contribution to our foundation. I'm hoping that that is not being recorded accurately. So. I'm able to do this since my wealth advisor, past President Skeet Wooten, tells me that I'm in great financial shape as he has invested all of my money years ago in such great companies as Sears, Kmart, and Blockbuster Video. Couldn't have done it without you. So now, one of my other honors today is to welcome our new president, Catherine Staub. Welcome to your year as president of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. Here's the gavel, and I hope you enjoy your year as much as I have. Oh, and I've already come up with a theme for you for your year. No worse than last year.
Thank you, past President Doug. Well, Doug has obviously left some big shoes to fill. If you, I don't know, not quite gonna measure up shoe-wise. I don't have Doug's sense of humor, which may be a relief to some of you. And there'll be no more of this Iowa State, Iowa nonsense. I bleed blue, Drake, all the way. Which, you know, fitting Rotary colors. So I think we've always been Drake blue. But in all seriousness, I am really grateful for Doug's leadership this past year. It, as he noted, has obviously been a really difficult 15 months, and between Doug and Kitty, this club has managed to thrive. So I appreciate that. Before we let Doug completely off the hook, we have some things for him. So we have, come on up, Doug. We have his official past president badge. So we will all remember him and this past year. I also get a new badge, put that on later. I would like to present to you the past president's pin with an actual diamond in it. So wear that proudly.
Make up for your investments.
Yeah, yes. The plaque, the engraved plaque is forthcoming.
All right.
So a little bit of a pandemic slowdown with that, but it's coming your way. And then we have a very special unveiling of Doug's Presidential Library, the Douglas J. Saltzgaber Presidential Library and Museum. So we can maybe someday all tour that. I think that's what, in whose backyard?
Mr. Oman.
Mr. Oman. So thank you for your generous donation of land and building to the Doug Saltzgaber Presidential Library. And then finally, we have some special gifts for Doug to use now that he doesn't have to spend so much time prepping for these meetings. So Doug, if you want to go through all the goodies in there.
It's heavy.
Yes.
Oh, see something Iowa State.
Okay, so I would stay for just a tiny bit longer. Then it's all Drake. All right, so
Fan heads?
yeah, your very own, build your very own helmet. I don't know how much good that would do if they drag you out onto the field, but
It's too late now. There's more.
there's more. Yes, indeed.
Oh, a bottle of wine. Imagine that. Thank you. Keeps going. Holy cow. Party like it's 1776.
I hear that goes with one of your themes.
That's the one carrier.
That's the one carrier that your wine is supposed to be in, but more goodies inside that.
Fireball. That'll keep you warm. Well, thank you.
There's one more little thing in that. I think it was in that yellow piece that you just threw in there. Yeah.
An Iowa State stopper.
So one more big round of applause in appreciation for that leader. Thank you, Doug. So, first thing I want to do is welcome our new board members. We have Josh Braby If you're here, please stand. Colleen Rogers Messenger, Christina Smith, all serving as incoming directors on the board, and then Ashley Bonenkamp as our new Sergeant at Arms. So thanks to all of you for your willingness to serve, and I look forward to serving with you. So it is an honor for me to step into the role of Rotary Club of Des Moines President, and I want to thank all of you ahead of time for all of your support. Thank you for remaining members of the Rotary Club of Des Moines, and thank you for your service to the club and to our community. It's much appreciated. In my very first time at the podium as president, I have some unexpected but seriously important news. Late last week, the Wakanda Board of Directors gave us notice that due to staffing shortages, this is our last meeting at Wakanda. They are no longer hosting non-member events. Super short notice. I am pleased to report, however, that we have already secured a new location for future meetings. Beginning July 29th, we're going to be meeting at the Des Moines Embassy Club downtown. Please know that the Embassy Club has offered to match our current pricing, so there'll be no changes to lunch pricing at this time. So that is good news. Further details will be provided in an email to all members that is going to be sent out later today or tomorrow. And then as we have even further additional details, those will come, of course, in future communications. But I said July 29th, and there are, however, 2 meetings, and therefore, or 2 weeks, and therefore 2 meetings before July 29th. And we have secured locations for those meetings as well. So next week, July 15th, is our annual Police and Fire Awards. DMAC at Southridge Mall will be our meeting location for July 15th, and for very good reason. DMAC has a partnership, a really strong partnership with the Des Moines Fire Department, and also has an interesting story of their own about that particular space. So they will be hosting that particular meeting, and thank you to now past President Doug for arranging this location on extremely short notice. And then July 22nd, as you hopefully have marked on your calendar, we had already planned an early evening social from 5 to 7 p.m. at Greenwood Park. The reason we planned that is at that point we thought we would still be welcome at Wakanda for now, but they have a huge golf outing that day, and they told us we couldn't come that day. And in addition to that, our June outdoor social got a lot of positive feedback and members asking for us to do another one. So those are the reasons we had previously planned, and we'll still do that evening social on July 22nd from 5 to 7 p.m. at Greenwood Park. And of course, additional details will come out to everybody about exactly where and everything to know about that. So I had, prior to this big news from Wakanda, had planned other remarks for today, but I think that should be it for today. So with that, we are adjourned.
Need a photo with my Kitty? Photos?